Hey, what's going on, everybody? Corn O'Keefe here. Welcome to the next episode of Epic Island Battle Tournament. Today we got a special guest co-host in the house.
How you doing, guys? It's Mega Paul here.
We're going to be covering KUWABARA first. I'll be personally covering Dan HIBIKI myself. He's going to be going over KUWABARAs with me. Starting off with KUWABARA. Went to high school with Yusuke Urameshi.
Alright. Let me start off here. Alright, we're talking about KUWABARA today, guys. He's from the show Yu Yu Hakusho, if you didn't know. And it's an old anime that aired on Adult Swim. Very good, might I add. So, KUWABARA and Yusuke didn't really get along at first when they were in school. Let's just say they had a couple tussles here and there every once in a while. And KUWABARA could never actually beat Yusuke. Yusuke always beat him up.
That much was clear.
KUWABARA and Yusuke would eventually become friends in the show, not too far down the line. And KUWABARA ends up being a part of Team Urameshi. Ends up going to the first tournament with Yusuke in order to train under Genkai. KUWABARA himself did not train under Genkai, seeing as Yusuke was the one that won the tournament. And then he stays with him, and when Hiei and Kurama become part of the team, and they all go to more tournaments after that, and he progressively gets stronger throughout the show. Now, Corin, do you want to get into some of his abilities and skip all of the backstory? You know, just to give them that little piece of origin.
Sure, I think by now people should know a lot about Yu Yu Hakusho as a whole. KUWABARA's iconic and main ability would be his Spirit Sword.
Due to his high spiritual awareness, he is able to focus his energy in the shape of a sword.
Now you might be thinking, Spirit Sword, is that his only ability? Is that all he has to offer?
Well, not necessarily. He can actually alter his Spirit Sword to do many other things.
Essentially, he was actually able to pole vault with his spiritual energy and essentially use quote-unquote daggers and fire multiple spiritual shots.
And don't forget, he was actually, at one point, able to create 2 Spirit Swords, one in each hand. And he also, at one point, unlocked the ability to slice through dimensions with a different version of his Spirit Sword, a more amped up version.
Wait, what? You mean to tell me this goofball KUWABARA can cut through dimensions with his Spirit Sword?
Well, of course, Corin. It's even actually got him out of a couple tight spots in his days.
Well, and believe it or not, he's actually killed some lower class demons in his day. His strongest attribute and possibly his greatest weakness would have to be his sheer willpower.
There were several times that he threw his life on the line in order to save his best friend Yusuke. And most of these times it actually ended up giving Yusuke a little boost. It helped him unlock his inner powers by seeing his friend almost get killed. Despite all of this that he has going for him, he's actually the weakest on Team Urameshi, but that definitely doesn't mean he's a pushover.
Yes, he's definitely not a pushover, but he does definitely not scale to Yusuke, Kurama, or Hiei. He does not scale to their level. Definitely not a pushover whatsoever.
At certain points in the show, he actually lost his powers, believe it or not, but whenever he was in this time of need, he acquired them back.
But like we said earlier, KUWABARA is a goofball. He's not the brightest, but despite this, he does have high levels of willpower and spiritual awareness.
And don't forget, a Spirit Sword that can slice through frickin' dimensions.
Indeed.
Well, that pretty much wraps up KUWABARA, guys. Let's bring you over to Corin O'Keefe so he can give you the rundown on Dan HIBIKI.
Will do, Mega Paul, will do. And thanks again for coming on the show and hosting KUWABARAs with me. It's good to have you here. Have a great one. Peace. Dan HIBIKI, the joke from Street Fighter. Well, like most characters, mostly martial artists, and a lot of fictional characters, Dan has witnessed a tragedy. He witnessed his own dad get murdered in front of his very eyes. His dad, Go HIBIKI, who was actually a martial arts master. After witnessing this tragedy, Dan would set out for revenge. He actually would find a dojo in the middle of a woods. The dojo was actually ran by Goken himself, the same guy who trained Ken and Ryu, you know, Akuma's brother, Goken. And surprisingly, Dan found this dojo. He was trained by Goken himself. However, Goken did basically realize Dan was not going to amount to much. But technically, he did let him go because Dan had revenge on his mind, you could say. Now, believe it or not, Dan is above the average martial artist fighter. Believe it or not. He took the little bit he did learn from Goken, combined it with some Muay Thai, and created his own quote-unquote style of martial arts. The Saikyo Ryu fighting style, to be precise. Dan even has his own set of moves, which are basically knockoffs of Ryu and Ken's moves. Ha, yeah. One of these moves are actually named after Dan himself. Yeah, pretty conceited. He likes to showboat for sure. One of his greatest attributes with his Saikyo style of martial arts is his excessive taunting, you might say. He can even increase his airtime while taunting and jumping at the same time. Somehow. Dan can even use ki energy, believe it or not. He can use a ki-like fireball known as the Godoken, which is basically a much weaker version of the Hadoken, we could actually say. But not having complete mastery of his ki, this move does not last very long at all, folks. Now, surprisingly, Dan, on down the line, would find the man who killed his father, and surprisingly win, more than likely due to the fact that the man who killed his dad showed pity towards Dan, and Dan got a big head after that. You can be sure of that. Really big head. Now, believe it or not, Dan has shown confidence before. Nonetheless, he has shown confidence, but more often than not, he has acted more or less like a coward. Heck, in Street Fighter 4 and 5, Dan Hibiki has actually slightly gotten some upgrades to his technique and skills and abilities, you could say. Obviously, it was not a huge upgrade. Nonetheless, he is more skillful as of now with his martial arts. Dan has actually taken out a group of thugs before, folks. This would actually put him at street level due to the fact he can take out multiple thugs by himself. And surprisingly, folks, Dan has actually endured some punishment on a time or two. Heck, he's took hits from Ken and Ryu, for crying out loud. Heck, he almost won a freaking martial arts tournament due to playing with his dirty tactics and his showboating and taunting, mostly. Mostly dirty tactics. Then he got to Ken and he lost to Ken in said tournament. So altogether, folks, Dan Hibiki actually has shown confidence at a time. He actually is above the average fighter, martial artist. He knows his own style of martial arts. He actually has taken out a group of thugs by himself before, but he does showboat, and most of the time he does act like a coward, and he is viewed by most of his peers as a lower class fighter in that verse. All that being said, all this at Dan Hibiki's disposal. Does he have what it takes to take on KUWABARA from Yu Yu Hakusho? Well, folks, let's go ahead and find out.
Fight!
And it looks like the winner of this Epic Island Battle tournament round is KUWABARA from Yu Yu Hakusho. But before I tell you why, I got another big thanks and a big shout out to give to the battle animator. Shout out to Speedy the Cyborg Ninja for that great animation you witnessed. So go check out Speedy the Cyborg Ninja. Consider subscribing to him. Thank you, Speedy. Shout out to Speedy the Cyborg Ninja. On to business. So, reasons why KUWABARA wins, and I'll start off by saying this. Dan arguably has two slight advantages over Kuwabara. He has the martial arts aspect. He actually knows martial arts, legitimate martial arts. And you could argue he has slightly faster reaction speed. Slightly, if you want to argue that. But when it comes to everything else, Dan is actually outmatched here. Starting with strength, yeah, Dan is street level. He's able to take on multiple thugs, normal thugs by himself. Kuwabara, on the other hand, has taken on lower class demons. No matter how low class these demons are, they are indefinitely above your normal thugs. That's for sure. Kuwabara has actually lifted a demon and tossed him across a stadium before. Yeah, that's some strength. He's actually managed to take down a couple lower class demons in his day as well, which is more impressive than taking on multiple thugs, normal thugs to be precise. Yeah, Dan can use ki energy, but he's nowhere near mastered it. Nowhere near. Kuwabara, on the other hand, has mastery over his spiritual awareness at this point, easily. In terms of durability and endurance, sure, Dan has taken a beating from Ryu and Ken, but that was not fatal, you could say. Kuwabara, on the other hand, has put his life on the line many of times, showing great endurance along with his willpower and durability. Heck, he survived massive blows from B-class demons in his day, folks. And let's not forget Kuwabara's Spirit Sword and how versatile he can be with this. He can wield two at once. He can shoot multiple energy daggers if needed. He can even pivot with it. Heck, and as we mentioned in his analysis, he actually has cut through dimensions. Now, this does not mean he's Galaxy or anything like that, no. But his sword alone can cut through smaller dimensions to escape. If it can cut through dimensions and lower class demons, it can definitely cut through Dan Hibiki's human skin and flesh and bone. Yeah. And if you want to factor in their personalities and how they go about themselves, Dan has shown confidence, yes. More often than not, he does not put 100% in a battle, and he is a coward more often than not. Kuwabara, on the other hand, no matter how stupid you might think he is, he has more than enough willpower and endurance to handle more intense situations than Dan can. Kuwabara always puts in 100% effort, especially when it comes to his friends and helping protect his friends. So all that being said, the winner of this Epic Island Battle Tournament round is Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho. Simply put, he actually does take strength, durability, he can endure more punishment, and he actually has taken down some lower class demons. He has more impressive feats than Dan Hibiki, and if you factor in their character, their personality, they both might seem slightly stupid at times, but Kuwabara actually puts in 100% while Dan does not. Kuwabara has high spiritual awareness while Dan can barely control his ki energy. Kuwabara has way more heart. The winner is Kuwabara. Hope you enjoyed it for what it was. Stay tuned later. I'll be releasing the trailer to the next fight. As always, have a great one. Peace!